books updated, and here in the second method we can write it as in the else block we can write it in format of else. Okay, so this will return the if code. Can close it here, and else will start here. So this will return the form of message. So here we can define it in a message updated or not. Then we can define it in a value using the 4, and likewise we can define this method books not found, because on one response it will find, and it will another response it will not found the books. Response the code. So this is our update method where we can find it our value. And last will be our delete method. So last is our destroy method where we can use the same pattern and where we can find the ID. So in the same way we can write it as the delete method, which is called destroy method here in Laravel, and likewise we can manage the things. So we can close this curly brace here, which is missing beside it, and the same code we can use it for our next method. So after two brace, we can define our next method, which is our destroy method for deleting the assets. So which is our ID, we have to delete it, and that ID we have to use a method again in the same way which we have defined in the dollar books, where ID, comma, ID if it exists. Okay, let's check for the existence of it. So we will put it dollar ID, and if that ID exists, like the same way the pattern we usually have followed here, if that ID exists, okay, then we will check for the other pattern. So we'll write it as exist with the double quotes, and we will finish this method. Okay, so here also we will write it as our new variable we can define, and here in our books class we can find it in a method called find dollar id, and we can write it in this pattern. Now again we will write it as in book. If it is found, then we can delete that book from our record, and the same way we will return the JSON response. So we copy this code here, because same thing we have to write it here again. So this is our controller method of deleting the response code in Laravel as per our documentation. So here we can define it as records deleted. So when the records gets deleted, it will return the response of the 202. So we can write it as records deleted. Okay, records deleted. Else we can again write it in a pattern. So this is the our if function will close it here, if loop will close here, and else will start. So else again we will rewrite this code, and again we will check for the existence. If it does not exist, then it will check for the books not found, which will return the 404. Means it is the record is not in our database. Okay, so this is we can find it as book not found. So here you can put it in a place. Now it is okay. Complete. Our code is complete with it. Can review it. So books we have find it previously with the exist function, and here also we will find it by exist. And here one was missing. That's the reason uh, the error was coming here. Now I believe it's okay because we have closed the base and we have saved the file. Let's see. So if the same code if we write here books, if books exist, then where ID, let's see what happens. Some will return. So we find the occurrence of ID here, and in that request method, it will define the object. Okay. So if we define the dollar request by ID, go to work. So this is our controller class where we have defined it. Now we will define the routes here. Let's start our RTC server. So PHP artisan serve. Okay. So we have started our development server now. Let's see again what all changes can be done. So this is we have I'm logged into PHP my admin. Let's start our development server first. Starting PHP minus start all services. And in the meantime also we can start it from our terminal also by doing control click. So here we can directly start our terminal. Okay. So now when we this server gets started and when our PHP controller PHP my admin started, let's start again. Okay. So this is our books class here. You can use users migration file structure, then user file you see structure. Okay. So right now there are no records here. Now we have to do the form of records, which is name, email ID, and password. So next we will create a routes. Okay. So for route to be created, we have to define certain parameters. Okay. So here this is our last step for creating the Laravel routes in our application and then running the Laravel application. So almost all points have been covered. It's here, write the routes quickly. So route, what they are doing, it's a way to generate a application request URL. Now, this is our blank URL right now. We can see when we click on here control, when we start our development server and we'll see that here it's a blank, there is nothing, it's just Laravel home page. Okay, now we have to create a way, find a way where we can call our files, so which we have achieved in our books table by providing the implementation. Now what we have to do, first we have to go to routes api.php files. Okay, so all API routes can be managed here in a particular file in Laravel, which is in routes api.php. So let's go to our routes folder This is routes for this is your API.php file. Now here we have to define our routes. Okay. Now here we will see like this is our middleware which is responsible for managing the API, and here we will use the auth middleware. So before this we will use our controller class. We'll use our function use eliminate, and then no where our route file is there, we have to define it in app http controllers, then books controller. Okay, book controller. Okay, this is our API route file. Now middleware auth API. Here they are used Centum. We use auth API to get the user data. Now user data will have to get, and then we'll return the essential response to the user. Okay. Now if we will use it here for the book, getting the URL of books function. Let's say we'll write the route as route get method will write, and we will write it as books. Okay, so when we write it as books, see what we'll do. Still have to create a URL section for books controller. Now we will write it as our books controller function. Book controller, see automatically the class comes. Now here we will write it as class, then the index method, index function, index method will write. On the same way, if you want to define another route, so we will again define it in our another file type get function. Then we have to define it by ID. Okay, so we will define it in the form of an ID parameter to controller class. Then we will show use the show method. Okay, so let's try with this because index method, see which we have written the index method. So index method will call our index function where we have defined, sorry, not the index function. It will define our model class which we have defined here in index.php. Now view we will define in our Cedar file, but here since we are writing API, so we will define it in our api.php. Okay, and the controller class which will be having this is books.php, and in the user.php we have the index method. This is the access token where we have defined our parameters. So this is our books table file. Okay, so whenever we will write it a name of a published date, our database will gets created in books table. And now if we write PHP action migrate, then it will get in error already exists. Table user already exists. Okay, create new. Let's refresh the migration. Migrate a refresh. Or if you roll back it, nothing to roll back. Okay, if you refresh it, okay, it say wants to say that the use view already exists. If you do and control Z, okay. So next last file would be have is a controller class. So we will define it quickly, which is our model class, which is our routes class. So So in API.php only, these routes will get calculated, and you can also test it by gateway and postman also. Now these are the methods which we define as we have seen in our lecture that the previous methods which we have in Laravel are the get, put, and post methods. So these are the get method which will return the ID. In the similar way, we will write another method which is for our returning the post. For the post, we have to post it. If the data we have to post, then just we will write it as post here, and that will post the data into the database. Okay, means we are creating a new resource for it. So here, likewise, we have created a new list, and that will store it in a store function, which is our business logic class, where you can see the controller class. Okay, there we have defined it in our loop controller. Now, next thing which we'll write is we will put the ID, or we can update the column. Okay, so for updating, what we will write the method is put method. Okay, so the put method will be putting, and that will update the records. So how it will update the records? Now that's the question. So it will update it by ID. Okay, so the records will get updated by ID, and once the records get updated by ID, you can write the method here as update. Okay, the same thing can be done with delete command. So the delete method also will be able to do the details. So we'll write it as delete, and it will delete the ID associated with it according to the our book controller class, and the method we have used in our controller class is destroy. So let's review the controller class once again, and before executing the query. So this is our controller class, the books controller class, where the request method is first index method we have called, so that will return all the database. Okay, this will be the index method, which for this we have defined the route as books controller. Okay, in our api.php file. Then second is the store method. So in api.php file, when we see the store method, we have find it another thing. Okay, so let's check on another thing. So this is our get put method, and now the store method we have written. We will return an instance of a book, or it will store the data. Then put method will update the data. So update method also we have written here, which is to find this method, and accordingly after finding it, it will return the show. Okay, so show method will show by ID, and store method will be to store the data into the database. Okay, then it will request new objects. Then the show method we will show all the data. Then update method we have written here. Update method will return the type of operation we are doing in our table. Okay, so this if loop will end here, and else will also terminate here. So likewise, if there is not found assets, then we can return it as a 202 response. Records gets updated, then 202. Okay, so let's see. Now get books. What is the conclusion part? We will see here. The last part will be the conclusion part, running the Laravel API application. Now let's start our development server. Now this before this we will need to understand this diagram. So we will get maps used to map to the index method, will be show method map to the book ID method. Post method will map to the books method, and for books it will be mapped to the map method. Similarly, delete method will ensure to the delete controller method map to the destroy. Okay, so let's start our Laravel application and run this command in our development server. So we'll get output something like this. Let's see. So we'll go to a terminal and we'll run php artisan serve. Clear the screen, which artisan. Okay. Okay, so our development server gets started. Now we'll try to run the application. We'll press Control click to run this application. Okay. So let's try with our index method. What it will say, you does not found anything. Let's follow the documentation. It will write it as books method. Okay, no record is getting finding. So first we have to check here the table name. There is something wrong here. When we are writing the books table, then we have to, my database is books, then we have to also mention it in our file. So table name is books and database name we have to check here. So let's come to our root directory here. Still books has the method. Books controller having the error. Let's figure out this. Refactor will run code refactor, no refactors found. So if we will comment this, we need to make sure that why this class is not finding it. So find method will not be used here. That's clear because it will check already for the existence of this record. Author published date is there. Then it will return. Then otherwise it will return the format of request. So again we have to check for the env file. This is our environment variable file. Database is books. It is starting the modification server. Then okay, let's start our development server first. So api.php will run and it will run the file called, there is no prefixes available. Hello, hello. Now we have to start our development server in the artisan server. Okay. Now we follow the control please list. Follow the link. Okay. Now here we type as index books index. Yeah. Okay, now we have to know that how the API part will work. Now the control class once again you will give you there may be any kind of mistake we might be doing it because we have to ensure that it will call the method in it when we have created the controller called PHP artisan controller. Let's start again creating it the book controller. Migrate which statement returns connection users already exists. Okay, we forgot to ensure, we forgot to write our app models here because how our table will know that it is taking it from books table. So that we have missed here. Now I think our error will get sorted because we were writing it the other way and also syntax error unexpected. Okay, this semicolon it will come. In the same way, when we write it as find exist, that will also take the class books updated. Okay, it is coming in the format of both. So let's see. Okay, we can write it as files to ensure that submitted books not found. Okay, now we have defined it in here. Then also we have to define it, find a way, because this command will work here now. Because before showing or before updating, we have to find the ID first. Okay, so hopefully it will work now. Let's try again in our terminal and let's start our development server. PHP artisan migrate server is starting our development server. Okay, this is our ecosystem. I will now index drive. First, we need to ensure that our database have a proper column. So we'll have to check this user's name, email ID, verified informations. When we check for the books table, when you have the database called books, in that we will have the table called the published date. Books it is also there. It's the name or the author again. So we write it as author and we will run the command. Now book seater when we will use the book seater class. So we will have to use the app models books and models books. We can need database seater namespace database seeders. And distance distance better than distance. So this is the conclusion part where we have ensured that how the Laravel application is working, and we will do it by this method. So let's try this. Development cycle is already started. Let's see what are the items. Okay, refuse to connect them. Let me start our development server again. Localhost here also you can reach it. Okay, so we are in simple API folder, and here we can write it as books. Okay, so this is all about our database considerations with Laravel and creating a route. So we can also test it in our Postman tool. We can run as an administrator, and we will check if there. Okay, so we will use our endpoint here, API file, and we will check for our get method. See, when we have defined our get method, we will check here how the get method will work in a URI or in a URL. So for get method, we will map to the index method. So we will paste it in our application index. Now there is no value. We'll send it. Let's check the raw data. We'll see data. Check it again. So thank you.